All right, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Lee Hartley podcast. You may want
Okay, retake, start over.
Yeah. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Lee Hartley podcast. You may be wondering why we're wearing the same clothes. Well, we just finished that episode with Jason Redmond, and now we're introducing to you Josue Garcia.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? Thanks for having me, man.
We'd love having you here, man.
I actually just forgot to do the laundry.
Yeah, is that why? Yeah. This is actually a different day. We just wore the same clothes. That's all.
Definitely a smell coming from the other side of the table.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
So Josue, he is I was almost going to say financial planner, but you're not.
No,
you're
not even
in
close.
public accounting.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. Don't call him for that.
No, absolutely. No, I'm a certified public accountant.
Okay.
So,
and for most people, that's a CPA.
Yes, that's what CPA stands for. So,
Gotcha. So Josue, I've been wanting to have you on the show for a while. We've been talking about this for 6 months. It took me forever to get everything up
Because
and
you
running.
kept buying stuff.
Yeah, I kind of have an addiction.
It looks good though.
Well,
so
thank
you guys
you.
did a good job.
Thank you. Still got some more stuff that we're gonna add, and might get a tree or something. I don't know.
Get a fake tree because
get a fake one.
There's no windows in here, so
Yeah, the more I keep looking for plants, and all of them say needs high sunlight, and I'm just like, So I keep telling Ayla she's got to go find me some plants that'll work in dark, dim rooms.
that I don't think that exists, does it?
Yeah,
They're
fake ones.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Just don't water them, and you'll be okay.
Or what is it called? Very resilient. I mean, don't. I forget the word. Some of those plants. Never mind. Just move on.
Yeah, I mean, you're the person that killed aloe. So
Okay. Yeah.
You kill an aloe plant?
I thought that was impossible, but apparently it's not.
Yes.
All right, so getting into it,
Yeah.
kind of. How did you kind of get started with where you're at now? I mean,
Well, I mean, like, you mean public accounting or where I'm currently at?
just public accounting in general.
So, I mean, I guess I got my degree in accounting. So
Okay.
I went to a school here, close here, USC Aiken.
Okay.
And then I got my master's in Charleston. And, I mean, they kind of groom you, if you're an accounting major, a lot of times, especially if you get your master's degree, kind of groom you for public accounting. So part of that process is, it takes you about a year to get your master's. And then they kind of facilitate, there's an exam that you have to take. It's 4 parts and it's pretty intense. So they kind of facilitate you doing all that. The master's program that I went to at College of Charleston basically brought the CPA firms to us. And then we would have networking events where we got to meet the firms and they got to know us and we got to know them. And then we had an interview process. And that's kind of how I got my first job.
So the college kind of pimps you out to the highest
kind
bidder
of sort of,
thing?
yeah. I mean, I guess it's like, basically if you, don't, the main reason why you would get a master's in accounting, you can go to undergrad, and most people out of undergrad, they may go into corporate world or whatnot, but go work for like Club Car or somebody like that. But if you go through the master's process, especially if you come straight from undergrad, they're basically try to get you to go into public accounting. So what they say is it's a good place to start your career. And a lot of the bigger firms, which I used to work for a pretty big firm out of my master's program, they make you work for it. So you got to work. And so that's basically how I got into public accounting. Gotcha. But I've always, when I started off undergrad, I was a management major, and I took a management class, and I was like, man, this is just like common. I felt like it was more common sense theory stuff, and
right.
I wasn't really into it, so I was kind of struggling with what I wanted to do. I took an accounting class, and it just made sense, man. It clicked. I got like 100. It had a bunch of numbers, and I like numbers, and it's a different way to interpret numbers, and I just kind of went with it, and it's worked pretty good. So
when you first started, in your courses, you didn't know that you were going the CPA route.
No, I wanted to be a chemistry major. I wanted to go into chemistry and kind of do some things with that. But long story short, man, out of high school and everything, like my margin for error was very small. I didn't have a lot of time because I didn't have a lot of money. A lot of people, I didn't have a tough upbringing as far as, having a hard life or anything, but we just didn't have a lot of money. So I wanted to go into a field that allowed me to basically go out into the workforce and generate revenue. And that's kind of how business how I went into business, and then from then I went into accounting. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And when you finally decided to make that decision, did you have any idea where it was going to take you, or what the future kind of held for it, or a goal overall?
Not at all, man. Like, I guess, I've always been the type of person that question everything. And like, even if it's authority, but not in a way where it's disrespectful. It's more like, hey, why are we doing this? Like, this doesn't make sense to me. Like, we could do it this way and save 15 minutes or save $15.
Right.
And a lot of people saw it as me being a little hard-headed, which is kind of true. I guess I'm hard-headed in a way, if you ask my wife.
Yeah, I mean, but with something like that, if you see a problem, and it may not necessarily be considered a problem, but if you see a way to do something more efficiently.
Yeah. The problem is that a lot of, people are set in their ways for the most part. And when you become part of something that's bigger than you, a lot of times you feel like you lose control over what you can and can't do, and you kind of just get plugged into the system and you just go with the flow. And when you have people, they can't just go with the flow because that's just how we're wired. So I always knew that I was wired differently. I never understood what that meant. So a combination of that, when I came out of my master's, I came out of the middle of a recession. You guys remember that Great Recession, which, I mean, we pretty much got treated like I'm not going to say second-class citizens, but if you came out of school in 2009, 2010 timeframe, you had a hard time finding a job. Right. So, like, luckily I was able to go to work for a firm, but it just wasn't what everybody else was getting. Like, I believe our starting salaries may have been reduced. I don't know this for a fact. I have to verify, but that's kind of what we were told. And our start dates were delayed just because the firms, didn't have the funds. Well, they had the funds. They just basically said, we're in a recession and we can't afford to have you guys on this payroll for this amount right now. Right. So it was just a combination of understanding like what corporate structures and bureaucracies kind of think of you, how they really think about you. And my hard-headedness kind of led me to believe that I just wasn't wired to just go with the flow.
So you kind of felt like Neo in the Matrix at the beginning.
It didn't make sense to me. Like, so, I went into public accounting and, I was expected to work. I think it was like at that time, 70, 80 hours a week. I got a salary, but if you break down the salary that I was getting into my hourly wage, I was probably better off working it. I was probably better off somewhere off making $10 an hour and getting overtime, to be honest with you. So it just didn't make sense. And then I saw how employees were treated, and how unfortunately people were let go on a consistent basis, and this is like churn and burn on people. And then I remember after my first tax season, after me just working countless hours, they call a meeting. One of the partners calls a meeting and says, "Hey guys, if you want to take 2 hours to go to the dentist, you need to use vacation. Otherwise, we're not going to give you your full paycheck." And I was like, we lived in this firm for three months, the last 3 months of our lives. We sacrificed our time. And now you're telling us that we have to take as sick and vacation time too.
And you were doing that on a salary basis, so you're working 80, 90 hours a week, but your pay was reflected as 40 or 50.
Yeah. So basically it was like my pay stayed the same no matter if I worked 90 hours or 40 hours. Right. And then to be told that we had to put 2 hours of our vacation time to just to go to the dentist, it just didn't add up to me. So I was like, hey, hold on guys, time out. We just spent, and anyways, they didn't like that. So
how long were you with that firm?
About a year. Okay. So after that, I ended up moving to North Carolina. I got married. My wife was deployed, and I ended up moving to Fayetteville, North Carolina. And I had you talking about a hard time finding a job. It was horrible, man.
And so this is around 2011 at this point, 2010, 2011?
I want to say it's like 2011, 2012. I don't remember the exact year, but moved to Fayetteville. Don't really know anybody there. So no connections, no professional connections or anything. And when I told you I took a 50% pay cut, I took a 50% pay cut just to get employed. Right. My dad told me that it's better to get a job when you have a job, which I don't know if that was the right decision for me.
I think that old saying too, it was always that, and then it was always a half a loaf of bread's better than none, or something along those lines.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things. So, obviously, my dad came up in a different environment though, because, he was used to, he always had good jobs. He was always, able to put food on the table. but the corporations and the companies treated that generation differently than we get treated if we go into the work environment. You know, like we're talking pensions and, you know, health insurance, you know, good health insurance and all things are different now. They're not what they used to be. So he was loyal to the company because the company took care of him. Whereas for us, we're a little hesitant. I feel like our generation is a little more cautious about where they go work and make sure that it's a good fit for, you know, for
right,
them.
right.
So.
You know, back in his generation, when you started working somewhere, it wasn't necessarily dictated, like your position and your reach for higher positions wasn't dictated by where you went to school or anything. It was literally time served and what you've learned and what you've done. You could you could start from the very bottom and actually work your way up to a higher level. I mean, my dad ended up doing the same thing. He had an 8th grade education, and literally by the time he retired, he started digging ditches and laying water mains for half the city. Yeah. And by the time he retired, he was running the entire department.
Yeah.
So
it's all about effort and what you're capable of, whereas like it's just different now. Things are different. And too, like I feel like I'm not gonna say, I think smaller entities or smaller businesses still have that we care about our people thing, which they do, most of them do, but I feel like some of these bigger companies, I feel like a lot of the time you just get plugged in and may get forgotten about sometimes, and unfortunately that happens a lot in the corporate world. You know?
One of the things Bonnie always tries to implement within our company is it being more like a family, and like what you're saying. I mean, she likes to talk about the family side of things.
Ayla's probably looking at this but you know, just like at home when I'm real stressed out, it's hard to be a good. I do. Yes. And my plan and my intentions is to completely implement all those things that show appreciation.
Yeah, and you have to, because if you don't, I mean, people are not going to stay.
Yes.
That's what it really comes down to. I mean, people have options now. I mean, if you don't like what you're doing, you can change it. I mean, we have the internet, we have Instacart, we have all these things. You know, I've explored. You know, I'm having some social media issues with my company, so I'm trying to find somebody to do some work for me at a reasonable rate. And I couldn't find anybody local. I can't get anybody to answer the phone. So I went to, what's that website? Fiverr. Yeah, I don't know what it's called. But you know what? I found somebody. He's not in the U.S., and he's doing great work for me.
And he's knocking it out.
One post a day, and it's like better than anything I could have hoped for. Yeah. So, I mean.
And that's how that goes to show how easily something could be outsourced.
Yeah. There's not really a reason for an excuse anymore. Like, we don't have any geographical boundaries that keep us from achieving our goals at this point. Because if it really comes down to it, you should always have the ability to make money. And I feel like the internet and all these things that are put in place, I mean, facilitate that. So if you have a gift or a talent or a skill, and you feel like you're stuck, you can easily change that with a little bit of hustle. Yeah. Problem is, do you want to hustle? Do you want to like do what I did, which is work from 8 to 5 at a corporate job, and then work from 6 to 3 on your side business until the business gets big enough to overtake all that time. Right. And that's what it really comes down to. Is like, do you want to put in the effort to go that route? You know.
And that's definitely one of the things I want to get into with you in just a little while, is just the extra effort and, you know, your side hustle becoming something more. Yeah. So you're working for this firm for like a year. Yeah. And you weren't a peg, like you were a square peg trying to find a round hole, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I had a lot of good relationships there, and, you know, I'm a people person, so I had a lot of good relationships. It was just like, it wasn't a fit for me. It just didn't work for me. And it ended up being not a good overall fit for what I wanted to accomplish, basically.
So from there, what was kind of your next step from there?
Man, so move to North Carolina and struggle. Like, take a pay cut, go to work. I remember
were you doing the same thing in North Carolina?
So I ended up working for a private employer, a small business guy. He had 3 companies. He had real estate, land development, and construction company, and basically I ended up like doing the books for those companies. When I went in there, everything was a mess, and I want to say that I helped them kind of get things in place. That wasn't a good fit either, for other reasons. I'm not going to get into that for legal purposes. But anyways,
I would assume when you go in and everything's a mess and you have to implement all kinds of things to make it right and run smoothly the way it should,
Yeah.
You probably ruffled some feathers too with the way things needed to be done because people get kind of set in their ways with the way they want things.
Yeah, a lot of people say, "Oh, I want to do the right things," or I want to be this business owner. I want to be this great corporate officer. But when you put a mirror in their face and you see like, are your actions dictating that narrative?
Right.
And the answer in that case was like, no. I mean, that's the best way I can put it. And so anyway, so I was there for a little while. After that, I ended up working as a human resources person that was fun, at a country club for a little while. And then
now are we talking like an old school type country club where
it's an old school, like it was definitely old school. But I mean, once again, man, I met a lot of good people, met a lot of good connections, and then I networked my way back into public accounting.
Okay.
So I was in the country club, and then I basically found, I had access to the member list, and I just kind of went out of my way to get some people my resume. So I went back into public accounting, and I was there for about 3-4 years.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah, I can imagine the clientele that was there.
Yeah.
They were a great, group of people for what you wanted to do with your life.
Yeah, I mean, it was, every opportunity is a learning opportunity, and like at the end of the day, people are people. There's gonna be, you should be able to relate this to anybody and anyone you come across. You should be able to find something to relate to. So that was my approach when I worked there. I was just basically, I needed work. I mean, it was still in the middle of a recession. Having a hard time finding a good job and kind of that. But I mean, I've had to kind of, reset my career a couple times, and then going to work at that firm, in all honesty, that firm solidified my love for what I do now. It was a great firm to work for, a lot of great people, and just a great working environment. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So when you went to that new place, you were there for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And while you were there, what were you kind of handling for that?
I've mostly been as far as public accounting, I've mostly been a tax guy. So I've just basically mostly tax returns and tax engagements. And then towards the end of my tenure there, I started doing government audits. So I was going into local municipalities and doing audit work. And just kind of auditing books and things of that nature. So I dabbled into audit.
Gotcha.
So
you got to see the other side of how the government works.
I know, unfortunately.
It's like, don't get me started on that.
Yeah. But the good thing, I'll tell you what, man, let me tell you something about these municipalities. These local small municipalities carry the load for the bigger municipalities. Like, you have a lot of these little towns who run. I mean, granted, they probably have 1 or 2 employees, but they run efficiently and they actually make profits as they operate their water fund, their general fund, whatever it is. And at the end of the day, like when you have all these little local municipalities and these bigger ones that have the bigger entities that have a lot of debt, things of that nature, you got to lump it all together. And then the state has a state financial statement. But there's a lot of debt in the bigger ones. These little ones, man, I can't tell you like how they have. They have bonds, they have savings, they have no debt, and they basically just make the balance sheet or the financials for the entire state look
at least to where it equals back out to zero somewhere.
For
someone to keep some of it somewhere.
They do the smaller municipalities carry the bigger ones.
Right.
I feel like based on my experiences, kind of working. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Did you? You said you love numbers and things like that, so I'm assuming that's something that you enjoy doing, and just it kind of expanding on your knowledge base from that situation, and you started to transition somewhere else. Where did you go from there?
So after that, we ended up moving back to South. So I was in North Carolina, and then moved back to South Carolina.
What took you back?
Family.
Okay.
Just some family issues going on, so we moved back into the area. And I ended up working for the Department of Energy site here locally, Savannah River site. And good thing I did the audits, because that's what got me in, is basically I did government audits.
So you already kind of had your...
Yeah, so they hired me to do government audits.
Gotcha.
So basically I came in, went to the Savannah River site, did audits. And,
right.
And it wasn't really financial audits, it was audits of anything. Like I remember looking at like fleet management, which is vehicle management, things of that nature. So it just basically it could audit whatever needed to be audited. So it's a different type of engagement, but you still apply the same principles of an audit to that kind of work. But while I did that, though, I started my business kind of on the side, I guess you would say.
Did you start that at the same time, like right when you came?
So basically, like as I was leaving North Carolina, I was turning in my paperwork to start my LLC for my firm, and I was getting all my credentials from the state boards to have. Now,
were you doing that? Did you start that process in North Carolina and have to move it, or were you already like you were planning for the move and you started?
Yeah. So once I figured out that we were moving back, I started the process of setting up the company and getting my state credentials and all, and getting you got to get your EFIN number with the IRS so you can e-file tax returns and things of that nature. Gotcha. So all that was already in place by the time I hit it.
How long of a process is that?
I mean, it doesn't take that long. I mean, I guess the longest thing you have to wait on is maybe the EFIN number. It may take 3-4 months for you to get it, but other than that, it's pretty straightforward. So
gotcha.
So anyways, so I was working full time, and then I started it, and the goal was like, at the site that I worked at, we had like every other Friday off. So I was like, well, maybe I'll just like start this, and I'll work every other Friday, like 4 or 5 hours a day. That's how I wanted to do it, and just kind of because I was gonna ride that to the sunset.
Right.
Because it was really good money. So I was like,
we're well past a recession at that point.
We're just kind of like, okay, we're kind of picking up steam and things are getting a little bit better. So the money's a little bit better. The savings account, all that's just kind of in better shape. But yeah, absolutely.
If you needed to go to that 2-hour doctor's appointment or something, you weren't stressing over it at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
I mean, I'm not saying like everything was perfect.
Yeah,
but
coincidentally, though, the manager at the site also made me use sick and vacation time to go to a 2-hour doctor. Even though we were salaried, she still made me do it.
Yeah, but were you working 90-hour weeks there?
No, but I was working. Now I'm working for myself, though. So I'm working 40 hours a week there, and whatever I work, it's on me. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it, and I get to dictate how I want to do this.
Right.
So I'm still working. I've never not been a hard worker. So like, I didn't have any kids at the time. I didn't have too much going on. I don't really drink and party, so I just worked.
I thought all CPAs were party animals.
Well, it depends. Right. It depends who you ask.
Yeah, I mean,
back in my day, maybe.
I never thought that.
No, here's the messed up part. You literally just said
a party animal.
Yeah, see, this is the part that bothers me because me and you are really close in age, and you say, back in my day.
Yeah.
Now we're officially at that point to where we use terms like that. And it's like back in my day.
Yeah, we can't do the things we used to, man. I have to stretch. Come on. Yeah. You got to stretch, man.
You used to be able to go out and do whatever you wanted to, and next morning, 5 a.m., you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and now it's like, I need a couple of days. Don't look at me.
Like, I went to play basketball with my friend and his kid the other day, and like, I was fine on Saturday. We played Saturday, and then like Monday or Tuesday, I'm trying to figure out what the bottom of my foot hurts. I'm like, what is this? Like, I just forgot to, I have tight ankles now, so my ankles are all messed up, like, so all those things kind of catch up to you, as you get older.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So, yeah. So make sure you stretch when
you can relate.
Yeah, no, man, I'm at that point now to where if I cough, I might throw my back out.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
Or you're like, what's that pain?
Yeah, I'll move a certain way, and it's like, am I having a heart attack?
And we literally will spend 2 days, we'll think about the last 2 or 3 days. What did you do?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you lifted that box from Lowe's the other day.
I picked up a dehumidifier.
And I told you shouldn't have picked that up by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're walking through Lowe's, and I'm like, hey, we need a dehumidifier for the house. It feels kind of damp.
Yeah.
Summer in Georgia, it's
super
hot.
damp.
Yeah. And anyway, I picked this thing up, and I'm like, ugh. And I throw it up on my shoulder, like we would always do, because we're men.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm walking through Lowe's. I find her. I throw it in the cart. Next day, man, everything through here, I'm just like, what is wrong with me? I'll move a certain way, and I'll get a sharp pain that just jolts. I'm like, I'm dying.
I understand now when my dad always needed to take a nap, and like, I've never been a nap taker. I'm still now, but I get it. Like, stuff hurts now. And it's like, It's real.
We kind of circle back around.
Stuff hurts.
Like you got kindergarten and first grade. You have nap time. Like you had recess and nap time. Now I'm like in my almost 40. Yeah. And it's like, I need nap time at lunchtime.
Yeah.
Got to recharge, kind of build it back up.
Or the grunting every time.
Yeah.
I mean, we got in the pool for a little while for the first time in forever. And
then too, like, you ever notice when you stand up, like, you gotta you get lightheaded? You gotta see what your feet are gonna do. Like, they're still awake.
Is there blood flow down there?
Yeah. It just takes a minute.
Jump up too fast and get dizzy.
You gotta think about it. Like, you just have to think about what you're doing.
It's a process, man. And then you tell this to someone that's already 50 or 60 or 70, and they're like, "Oh, just wait."
Yeah.
You just wait.
Yeah, that's funny.
I have noticed that Lee is so much more empathetic. He used to lose his patience so quickly with other people, especially if they were slower or wouldn't move as quick or anything like that. And I would say, "Hey, Lee, you're going to be that person's age one day."
Well, no, I won't be that way. That was literally what I would say.
He would say, "Oh, I'm not going to be that way. They shouldn't come out." He would say something. He would literally say, "Well, they shouldn't come out of the house." And I was looking at him last week, and I was like, "Well, based on what you used to say, you probably shouldn't leave the house." But I mean, that's not true. But now when somebody's struggling, he's like, "Okay, I'm cool."
We get it. We have that frame of reference. Like, we know what that struggle is now.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's something that the only way you can gain that is with age and experience and time. And
I think too, man,
heart.
Heart. Yeah.
I think culturally, like, one of the things, like, I don't know how, if you guys agree with this or not, but culturally speaking, we don't have that kind of respect for our elders, I think, as much as we should. Like, some of the best conversations I've had were people who are like on the tail end of their life, like, I go to my wife's from a reservation, Native American reservation, and whenever there's events or gatherings or something, you have the elders, which is people who are older, obviously. And they get to eat first, they get catered to, they make sure and then everybody goes. Right. And I think that as a society, I think we're forgetting that too, man. I think we need to understand that person probably fought for our freedoms at some point in time. That
tiered respect level is no longer there.
Yeah. So I always try to do my best to kind of understand and be like, especially like you see one of these older guys that's struggling and like, he has the cane and stuff. I guarantee you that dude was legit back in the day. Like, he's probably run circles around us right now, like,
right,
yeah.
And everything. So you just gotta think about where that person's been and where they
and what they contributed
journey.
And things of that
like
nature.
if you actually take the time to just talk to them, like the amount of knowledge and wisdom. I mean, they've probably been married, they've had kids, grandkids, and they probably had a lot of things happen to their. I mean, there's a lot to learn from that from people who've been around the block a couple times,
Right.
So
yeah, one of the things that we touched on another episode was just social media and how much it's changed everything in life, and the disconnection between people and their actual people skills.
Yeah,
and just being able to, for one, have respect for someone, not automatically jumping the gun and like just being on attack mode all the time, because that's what you see all over the internet.
Yeah,
and then like you see these trends where the cool thing to do is jump out of a car and go punch someone in the face or something like that. And it's like, how is that what we have come to from where you were talking about the respect for everyone else, respecting your elders and things like that? It's just no longer a thing.
I don't know, man. I don't know. The way I see it, and whether you're religious or not, I think this is not a religious statement, but more of a generalized like statement. It's like we need to put the fear of God back in our lives. Like, and what that means is just basically human decency to me. Like, and it's not hard to be decent to each other. I think there's been so many things put in front of us to separate us, like social constructs or whatever. Combine that with all the social media stuff, like where people, get a dopamine rush from a like or a love or something being shared. And I mean, it just created this environment where people are no longer care about that the human decency is kind of going out the door.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of boils down to the fact that we are so disconnected. And you said the dopamine hit for a like or a love or something like that. that's the validation that people look for now instead of putting a smile on someone's face that you're standing right beside.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the original dopamine hit.
Yeah.
Just being friendly and helping your fellow person, you know, fellow man, fellow woman, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like we've gotten away from that.
I was taught as a kid that the elders are the event. You go to an event to see the elders, but, well, a lot of people don't know about that unless they have Native Americans in their family, that kind of thing. But as a child, yes, that was the thing everybody looked forward to. You bring the elders together and you go listen to them. And once they're gone, they're gone. Yeah. It's like they have...
You're there to celebrate them.
They literally have generations of like their stories are passed on to the generations. Like, so they have literally wisdom.
Yeah.
And because we seek all the wisdom or information online...
You don't need them anymore.
We don't go back to like
everything's just really accessible at this point.
Yeah, and in all honesty, like I don't know if it's gonna get any better, to be honest with you, with everything that's going on. Like I don't have a full understanding of this whole metaverse and all that. But I feel like at the end, I feel like in 15, 20 years, like I mean, in order for you to be a successful person, all you're gonna have to do is be able to just talk to people. Because I fear that connection is going to be, you know, kind of like.
Well, and you speak on kind of the metaverse and where it's going, and you know, I'm not really detailed with my knowledge of it, but just outsider kind of looking in, it's like you could literally run a multinational corporation from a room just like this, and you could literally be standing in front of all of your heads for each city and each country. In one room, and you're like physically there.
Yeah.
So it's further going to desensitize everyone from just their actual day-to-day people skills if they even get to a point where they use them or have an opportunity to.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's benefits to all this, right? There's benefits to facilitate the movement of information and all that. I think it's a good thing. But I think at the end of the day, like, you still have to have that person, like, hey, let me come see you, make sure everything's okay. Like, you can't do that. You can't feel somebody out over the phone. You're definitely not going to be able to feel them out over a digital whatever.
I don't know. You see the latest update to the new Oculus? I mean, I
don't even want to.
So I saw a video the other day on Joe Rogan's podcast. Mark Zuckerberg was on Joe Rogan's podcast the other day.
I remember that's what I was going to bring up. Yeah. A high percentage of our communication is body language. So now they're trying to adapt.
Yeah. The new headset has cameras built into it, and it actually picks up on your facial expressions, your body language, everything.
Wow.
So that you can give more,
so
obviously it's not genuine, but so you also signal when you're giving eye contact.
So they're basically trying to emulate what we already have.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's basically what it is.
They're emulating face-to-face.
And I feel the same way about artificial intelligence. It's like artificial intelligence is trying to emulate what we already have. People don't understand and realize how powerful we are within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You literally have companies spending trillions of dollars trying to replicate you, and you think you're not worth something.
Well, we're giving it to them for free.
Exactly.
We give it to them right here every single day.
Yeah.
Everything about us goes through that.
And I don't care what people tell me. I think artificial intelligence will, at some point in time, replace some jobs, but you're still the operator of this computer. Like, you are literally a computer that's taken, I don't know how many billions of years to get right.
Have you seen the movie Extinction?
No.
On Netflix. I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't seen it, but I'm going to anyway.
Yeah.
There's a movie on Netflix, and I forget Pena. Great actor.
Yeah.
He was in Chips and a few other things. This whole movie is about flashback. He's having flashbacks and these memories of like an invasion, alien invasion, blah, 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 blah. Turns out by the end of the movie, it wasn't an alien invasion. It was humans coming back to retake Earth from the AI, and he was actually an AI. Everyone that was on Earth was literally AI.
Wow.
They were so real that they didn't realize they were fake, that they were a machine.
It's crazy. These movies are getting absolutely crazy.
And if you look back at movies over time, they're literally just a glimpse into the future anyway.
Yes. There's a few that you can name off. That
I sure hope not. I sure hope not.
Right. But, I mean, so you have these expansive thinkers that are, shaping and molding the future of everything we do.
Yeah.
And those people are the ones that are most fearful of AI. because of where it's going.
Yeah. But I'll say this again, like so AI will never be capable of doing what we as humans already can do. I mean,
I don't know.
I promise
you.
You're basically removing, like, think about the machine that we are,
right,
and how everything comes together, and think about what we're capable of doing without even thinking about it. Like, you know, grabbing that glass of water. Do you know how many things have to go off in your head for you to be able to pick that up?
Yeah,
it's a lot, man. Like, I'm just saying, like,
I can see why Josue is so nervous about AI.
I'm not nervous about it because at the end of the day,
there's already a machine that adds and subtracts math.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you can do taxes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's the same thing. Like at the end of the day, you still have to have that human, element to everything.
So you're saying that a machine cannot add 2 + 2?
I'm saying that I can do it faster than you can do it with a machine.
You can do it faster than I can do it with a machine. But what if it takes out the user input?
Then my computer tells me 2 + 2 is 4. Before I can even say it out loud. Right. My machine has been programmed to know. So
you're going to be the first one to sign up for Neuralink and get an implant?
What I'm saying is, if you ask a computer what's 2 + 2, it's gonna have to think about what it's saying. I'm telling you, 2 + 2 is 4.
Yeah, but it's doing it on milliseconds. Like what?
But how quickly can we do it if we have the information in our head?
What is 7,642 million? And so that's what I'm talking about. Complexities.
Yeah, but there are people who can legitimately like do that kind of math in their head.
Yeah, there's like 5 of them.
Yeah, but that same machine that's adding 2 + 2 doesn't know how to pick up a glass of water.
Right, because
that's what I'm saying.
Its only function is to do that.
One thing,
right.
we are absolutely fabulous beings, and we're capable of so much more than we think we are. And that's what I'm trying to tell people is like, you don't know your own worth a lot of the time. Like, think about how powerful you are. What percentage of our brains do they say we use? Like less than like 2%. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I think it's 10%.
Yeah, whatever it is. Like, think about it. If I use that's what I'm saying. Like, think about if you try to hone your skills and try to, like you have the ability to be whatever you want to be. Like, you just have to look within yourself. You have greatness within you. You are better than any AI, any metaverse, any of this crap that's happening. You already have that. These companies are trying to replicate what you already can do within yourself.
Right.
That's how I feel about it. So I'm not worried about any of that.
Yeah, and I mean, go ahead.
Oh, there's been videos because I keep up with some research on the brain, and I can't convey what I read and what I see, but essentially, scientists have admitted that the one thing they can't even come close to understanding is the soul and how to duplicate that. So the point I'm getting from you is going back to that. Like, we have a soul, we have a consciousness. Yeah. Like, we can evolve and change and we can create. Yeah. Whereas a machine it's just a machine. We
created the machines. Like, we allowed the machines to exist. It's not the other way
this is
around.
how Terminator started out with Skynet.
Yeah.
Well, we created the machines.
Yeah. I'm not worried about AI overtaking anything just because of the sole fact that I don't think they'll ever be able to replicate the greatness of humans.
Gotcha.
And I'm not saying that because we're awesome. I'm saying it because we're powerful.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so.
I hope it turns out that way.
Yeah. Let's just hope, man. You never know.
So you're moving back to South Carolina.
Oh, we're back on that. Okay, yeah. So I'm working the corporate job, and I'm working my thing on the side, and then I think it's almost 3 years in, 2.5, 3 years in. I'm working 8 to 5, and then I'm working like 6 to 3 sometimes, or sometimes I go to sleep and wake up at 1 a.m. and work and go about my day, and so I had to make a decision. My son was born. My first son came around, and I wasn't spending any time, doing anything that I like. So I had to make a decision. The good thing was that the corporate job made that decision for me very easy. There were some issues that once again, not because I'm a bad employee, but I just questioned some things about how some things were playing out. And within myself, like, I'm not gonna say I'm a saint because I'm not, but I have a certain level of integrity and that lives within me that I can't.
You have your morals and your values.
Yeah, I just can't let some things be what they are because that's just the way things are.
Right.
So basically, and as a matter of fact, I remember telling somebody I was having a conflict at work, and there was this guy that I used to go on walks with out there. And he was like, I can't remember if he was a pastor or whatever. He was big on the church, very religious guy. He used to try to get me like to convert and go to his church and this and that. And one day I told him about my ethical dilemma within myself, and he was like, he basically told me, he said, you need to accept the fact that corruption and the lack of integrity exists within every structure you work at, and that's just a part of business, and you just have to be able to accept it. And I looked at him and I said, maybe you have to accept it. I don't have to accept that. And then that kind of solidified how I felt about leaving.
Yeah.
So
that's that whole herd mentality.
Exactly. So when he said that to me, man, this is somebody, you know, he was in the military, educated, family man, church, all, you know, on paper, he's a great guy.
But he always came from that, like with the military, you come from that background of there's a certain way you do things and you do this and that's it.
Yeah. And the thing about it is that why would you tell somebody who's seeking your guidance that it's okay for you to compromise your morals? So anyway, so he made my decision very easy. He kind of facilitated my leaving, my exit. And then I just basically put my notice in and then, dude,
you went all in.
I just went all in. And
so you're at that point, your side hustle, which is your firm at this point, your firm in the making, because you still probably didn't exactly know what it was going to be.
No, I didn't know what it was going to be, but I saw something and my wife was very encouraging.
Okay. Which is a big plus.
It's like, I mean, I'll say like my wife is a saint. I love her to death. And she was my
You're not just saying that because this is going on the air, right?
No, I'm saying it because you guys know that's how exactly how I feel. Like everybody, you know, I tell my wife, if it wasn't for her, none of this would I probably would be stuck working somewhere. And she encouraged me and she basically was like, you know, I got us. If something happens, I got us. Like, it's okay. Like, go out there and make this happen.
Right.
And I did, man. And so far so good, I guess, you know.
Gotcha.
So so I quit my job. I
took a massive pay cut instantly.
So luckily,
not the first time.
Yeah, I'm used to it. So whatever,
right.
Reset,
right.
Hit the reset button, start over again. Whatever, newborn, house payment, wife, you know, family, you know, parents, and all this, and I just basically hustled. I mean, and by hustling, I mean just went out there and put my name out there as much as I could. And
now, how were you doing that? Were you hitting up networking events?
Yeah, I was part of a couple of networking groups in town, and
were those beneficial for you in any way?
For a little while.
Yeah,
they were good to. So I'm not really a shy person, but I had a hard time initially kind of putting together how I want to sell myself, and how I want to present myself to other people. And
so I think that's around the time that me and you and Bonnie actually met each other
in the networking group. So. But that group kind of allowed me, you know, every week you had to pitch yourself and kind of, you know, and then it kind of made it a little easier for me to figure out how to put that together because you only had a minute to speak, right?
Right.
So
you're trying to slam as much info as you can into a minute.
Yeah. So anyway, so it made it easy.
Right.
So so that's kind of how
I think for us when we went through that same thing, and again how like we got introduced to each other because of that, it was so redundant. Like the things that we would do, and it's so repetitive it was almost to the point where like you would speak, but were you really being heard kind of thing?
Everybody was just kind of there eating breakfast.
Right.
And, I mean, it was good for me because it got my foot in the door and it allowed me to meet a lot of good people that I still know. And you guys were one of them.
Yeah, so that was the thing for us.
And I'm grateful for it.
We took away some very great relationships from that.
But sometimes it did feel like I'm kind of going through the motions and I just want to eat my breakfast and go back to the office.
And I think for me, like one of the things that was the last straw for me with it wasn't anything bad.
Yeah.
But when I've been talking to someone for 9 months, 10 months about what it is that I do or what I'm offering or what I'm looking for, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know you did that."
Yeah. I was like, are you listening?
Yeah,
then,
it's like, I guess the bacon is really good here. You know, the breakfast is good.
Yeah.
Because obviously you're not listening to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And no, get me wrong, there were plenty that were there. And again, many great relationships have evolved from that. Mm-hmm. And you being one of the best ones. So,
absolutely, yeah.
we still talk about this, and you going through that transition and leaving the plant, starting your firm, and just us. We were trying to be one of your biggest cheerleaders. It's like, you need to do this,
man. I tell you what, I remember Bonnie we went to that cafe, Bueno Cafe in town, and Bonnie took a picture of my business card and put it all over. So, do you remember doing that?
Yes, and I said, you're still going to be our CPA when we're millionaires, and you're going to be a millionaire too.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll get there.
As you're working on your 80% pay cut right then.
80% pay cut, and then I went into this, so I rented an office space, and it was in the middle of inside of a dental building in North Augusta, which is right up the road. And I remember,
did you have a window?
I barely had a window. I think I didn't have any room for a table. So I remember my wife got a old suitcase, and she put like 4 legs on it, and she's like, "Here's your table." And that's like, she built me like a little. So I have what I call a suitcase table, and I still have it in my office because that's just gonna be how I remember
your humble beginnings.
The beginning of like where I'm at now.
Right.
But yeah, I had an office space inside of a dental building, which is now it's fully done being built. But at the time, it was all under construction.
I remember coming there with the construction.
I remember people saying, "Hey man, like you like what's that lawyer? The sketchy lawyer show that's in the Breaking Bad."
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Saul Goodman, whatever. It's like, no man, I'm not Saul Goodman. Like I'm just in here right now.
Ask that question again though. There's a box truck out back waiting on you.
So I remember that, and that was, but man, like I remember that suitcase table. I remember that office. I remember I did everything that first year. I did all the scanning. I did all the front end stuff, all the back end stuff. Like it was absolutely
You were
insane.
the secretary. You were
my cell phone. Which advice number 1 for business owners that want to start a business and you're serious about it: do not use your cell phone as your business phone. Get a separate line.
Yeah. Because
to this day, my phone, and I'm not saying I'm grateful for it, but there is no separation. If your cell phone is your business phone and you take that on vacation, you people are gonna call you, text you, email you, Facebook, Instagram, Snap, what else? Tumblr, whatever's out there,
That was one of the biggest things that we had to do and work on, and it was harder for her than it was me. You'll see, I've got 2 phones, a Droid and an iPhone.
Oh, it's the judgy looks like.
Why do you have 2 phones? You must be pretty important.
No, you have no idea. Like,
no, you got 2 phones. Like, so
I have 2 phones.
You're married. Oh,
yeah,
you got 2 phones.
Yeah. Get those looks too.
I'm like, this is not a burner phone. This is my personal. And then they don't even know what burner means. So
that's
I'm
because
like,
you've been watching too many drug shows.
Well, that's a whole nother. That's got to be. You got to turn the cameras off.
That's a totally different conversation. That was another lifetime.
Yeah, but it was life changing when we started with the 2 phones, because what would happen to me, addicted to taking care of people, we made a rule if we're not in negotiations or we don't have a scheduled call after 7:00, no more responding.
Yeah,
it can wait until the next day. But my brain did not understand that. So I could be chatting with my mom, texting, might even be doing something like looking at social media at 10:00 at night. And then a client or potential client texts me a message.
Yeah.
And then I tell myself no for 3 hours. I'm still thinking about it at 1:00.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to convince myself not to respond.
Yeah.
So business phone goes down.
Yeah.
Personal phone. And then there's only like 5 people that have that number.
Yeah. And the only thing that happens is basically like, you basically set your own boundaries because at the end of the day, people are going to treat you how you allow them to treat you, right? So if you tell people I'm with my kids at 5:30 because they go to sleep at 8:30, so I'm not picking up my cell phone. Like if my mom calls or my brother, I'll pick it up. But like if you allow yourself to pick up that phone at 7:00 and you have your kids on your lap, you watching TV, and can you handle it? People are going to keep doing that to you. Yep. Yeah. So I found out that when I didn't have those boundaries because I didn't have a kid.
Well, no, first time, like you're starting in your business, nobody has those boundaries because you're like, oh, I need to make this work. I need to make every single deal work or you're not going to eat next month.
Yeah.
So
having those I put those boundaries in place, and I think people, for the most part, everybody respects them. So like if somebody has my cell phone number, they respect it. Like, they're not going to text me at 8:00 at night asking me.
I am.
Well,
I mean, I'm going to text you at 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah, but you don't text me to do work, you know. Anyways.
No, I text you for those hypothetical questions. It's like, hey, if I buy this 4-wheeler
in Mars, I'm like, well, first of all, whoa.
And he's at what point, because Lee will come up with a theoretical question, it's like, that is the most bizarre,
yeah.
And I just wonder.
Can it actually work?
No, it's just like, he's got to think you're joking every single time.
No, I'm serious.
Sometimes I'm like, I'm not even going to dignify that with an answer.
Yeah, I've had a couple of questions that I've sent you, and you're just like, crickets. No, I'll just get crickets. Oh, man, 2 days later, I didn't see your message. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How you been? Well, and he'll change the subject.
Full disclosure, as far as I go, I am a horrible texter. I'm a horrible Facebook messenger.
Did you know this after like 7 years?
I just figured it was personal.
No, dude, I promise you, man, and I don't do it on purpose, man. Like, you know, like at the end of the day, like I probably have, not even including the office phone ringing, man. I can't, like, probably 30 phone calls on my cell phone a day, probably 50, 60 text messages, 30, 40, 50 emails minimum.
So you have to time block to actually get work done.
I literally have to set time on my calendar from 1 to 2. I'm just answering my emails. And like, I cannot answer your tax questions through text message. I cannot.
No.
I cannot answer your tax questions through Facebook Messenger. I'm sorry, I just can't.
Right.
It's just not gonna work. So like, if I'm allowing you to be in my personal space, then you have to be able to respect that. You know what I mean? Like, and you have to be able to understand that if you need me, you need my knowledge or my guidance, then you have to call the office or email me.
Right.
And I'm not. And at the end of the day, like, I'm not responding to text messages because I don't want to. It's just like, I just can't. I'm only one person, you know. And I hope people understand that it's hard. You know, it's hard to I remember one year I had somebody try to send me tax documents through Instagram, and I was just like, that's not a good client.
Wait, that wasn't me, was it?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean legitimately, like sending me pictures through Instagram, like, and I'm like,
with social on it and everything.
Like, I just can't. Like, that is not. Like,
we have a secure portal for that, sir.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or
like,
ma'am.
Like, what do you think this is? Like, you know, like, I can't do that. You're not taking me seriously. I feel like if you're sending me your tax documents through Instagram, like,
and then you gotta convert the file and all that too.
It's just not fair. Imagine that's not fair to me, man. Like, it's not fair to my team either. Like, I'm not gonna have them put together 100 Instagram pictures for your tax return. Like,
and then try to convert them to PDFs and crop them and all that.
Yeah, like, that's not gonna happen.
And upload them, download them, and have to delete the files from the computer.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've started working on with different agents that come into the office is, you know, they're talking about how do you protect your time and how do you do this and how do you do that and set those boundaries. And it's just kind of taking a step back and comparing it like, okay, because we're in real estate, we have all these moving parts through it.
Yeah.
But then you're also dealing with a lender, and you're also dealing with a closing attorney, and you're dealing with a title office, and you're dealing with home inspectors.
Yeah.
Every single other one of these companies, when you want to communicate with them, how do you do it? You do it during business hours or through email, and it gets responded to during business hours.
Right.
So one of the things that a lot of real estate agents won't do is they won't shut it down at a certain point and understand the fact that no other professional that's included in that transaction is operating outside of those business hours.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying there aren't things that don't, like on our end, yes, we have to be a little more accessible throughout a deal like that.
Negotiations,
because,
offers.
Right. Those happen after hours to an extent.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've had clients in Hawaii and Africa and all kinds of places that are buying things, so we have to deal with time zones and stuff like that too.
Yeah, but that's different though.
That's different.
Yeah.
But every single day, it's like, no, there's no point. The only way you're ever going to be treated like a professional is once you start acting like one. And you set those professional boundaries and, you know, deal with hours as it comes along.
I finally realized that if I'm burnt out and burying myself, having heart issues, anxiety, can't function, can't even find time to wash my own laundry, it's all my fault.
What do you mean? That's just Tuesday.
That's Tuesday.
What do you, and that's a lot of people don't understand. Like, let's just like talk, not even the real estate or accountants or whatever.
Yeah.
In general, business owners, we have to deal with so much, and like we're only human. Like, you have to put systems and processes in place. You have to delegate. You have to be able to, at some point in time, trust somebody to help you do things. That is so hard. It's hard to trust, but it's just,
delegation is a skill. But you know what,
man? You have to do it, because if you don't, it's just not. You're only like.
You told him that a time ago.
What?
Yeah, he has to tell me the same thing.
I have to deal with her. There was a couple of times with you, because we are friends. I've considered you one of my best friends, seriously. And it's like, look, you're at a point now to where it's time to transition. If you want to get to the next step, you're going to have that setback of bringing on someone else. But it's like, what will that allow you to do?
Yeah, and it was the first hire was the hardest, obviously, because that's the first time you have to let go of something. Now I'm like, here, take it. I don't care. Like,
please.
Here's my social security number. Here's my bank account.
Here's a stamp. It's my signature. Don't even call me.
Like, I better not see anything sketchy in my bank account.
Right.
You know, like
I'm checking it at some point.
I'll be seeing you in court. Like, I don't care. Like, I have an easier time trusting, but one of the things I'll say about the team that I have at the office, man, and I don't know how I got so lucky. They take so much pride in what they do. And I don't know if it's just me spilling over into them or them spilling over into me, but like, we've had a couple of bad apples. I mean, that's just normal. Yeah. But the people that are there, man, like I just don't know how I got so lucky. Like, obviously we're all human and we all make mistakes and we have our things, but it's almost like, why do you put up with me? Like, it's almost like, it's like with what I feel like Alicia. I was like, oh my God, Alicia, why do you put up with me? Like, I'm so lucky to have you. That's how I feel about my team.
So me and Bonnie work hand in hand with real estate deals and stuff like that. But my office manager, Ayla, like all these different people, they're literally like, you're an ass, but I love you just the way you are.
Yeah.
And
I mean, pretty much, because he gets an enormous amount of stuff. Like, he does all the things I cannot do. Like the way he maps out things and researches and has, once he gets hyper focused on something that he wants to progress us like in the direction, like once he takes the leap, and I had to learn this because I would fight him for so long, like, no, that's too much. We're not ready. And he's like, just bump it. Doesn't matter. Well, he would say something else, but bump it. We're doing this, and I would fight him so much, but we wouldn't be progressing forward. We wouldn't have a podcast room. We wouldn't have a brokerage. Our name wouldn't be known all over town other than Bonnie and Lee if it wasn't for his endless. So I'm happy to take care of all the moving parts behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But if something, like, nothing can happen to Lee because there's just so much he can do. No, I'm being serious. There's so much he can do that he does that nobody else can do. I can try to learn how to do it, but I'm not going to do it at the same rate.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to comprehend. He has a higher IQ, much higher IQ than average, but most people don't know that.
Really? I don't know.
Yeah, he does.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, he does.
I just fake it.
Lee, what's 2 + 2?
6.
His computer.
My computer's broken.
Does not turn on all the way.
But I'm sure your team and your wife and your children recognize the same thing in you.
I hope so, man.
It's because of that tenacity and love and ambition and wanting to change the world. Only you can do those things in the way you do them.
Yeah.
And then the best thing they can do is be behind you and support it.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with you is just your passion.
Yeah.
Like, for what it is you do.
I don't see anybody being behind me. Like, I just don't see myself in that way. I see me being behind people or me being alongside people. Even though
that's what I mean. I was like,
I'm being honest. Like, when I have somebody who's been with me for 3 years, almost 3 years, and like I don't. It's just like, to me, it's like, she's so capable. It's like, why are you listening to me? Like, But I mean, it's just crazy. It's just crazy to see the journey and see how things are going. So yeah.
So you opened your new office, and
open the office.
Yeah, you transitioned from the
office.
the sketchy office.
After 9 months in the sketchy office, construction zone, I moved to the new office where I'm at now.
Right.
And I've been there ever since, and it's just been growth, and and all that. Like, I started up. I remember that building. I have 5 or 6 rooms in it, which is me in there by myself, and now every room in that office has life in it.
Right.
So it's all like somebody's working, somebody's in there. So it's just full of life. So yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You've transitioned into an office now that you own. What's the future plans?
Well, my future plans are to retire sooner than I need to. But I mean, I don't think my definition of retirement is what other people see retirement.
You want to retire at 40 and go live on the beach?
No, I think to me the definition of retirement is working because I want to, not because I have to. I'm not the type of person that can just retire and go to the beach and go fishing every day. Although I do enjoy it, but I'll have to have something to turn the wheels. Otherwise, I'm just going to go crazy and I'll drive my wife crazy. I'm just not wired to not work.
Yeah.
And so, I'll probably still have the firm and still grow it and kind of get it where it needs to go. But I just don't see myself not working ever, basically. So, but, at the end of the day, so like all I care about, man, is the legacy. I care about the legacy I leave behind for the firm and for my kids mostly. Like I want my kids to have something to be proud of and kind of grow into if they want to step into a role, where they become owners or whatever in the company or whatever, man. But more
unless you sell it for $100 million in the meantime.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody offers me $100 million, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like what I really care about is like, I'm thinking like when I'm 70 and my kids are like, they have their own kids and everything or whatever they're into. I don't know. But I just want somebody to come up to them and say, hey man, like your dad, man, like that dude cared. And, like his word meant something,
right?
And
changed lives, didn't just
not really change, just meant something to somebody. And I also like just want to leave this place better than I found it, man. Like especially with everything going on in the environment, political, social. There's so many things that are dividing us, But if me and you sit across the table, and it doesn't matter what our backgrounds are, we could be from completely different parts of the world. Me and you have a lot more in common that we don't. Mm-hmm. But we're choosing to focus on what we don't have in common as opposed to what we do have in common.
Right.
So the way I relate to people is, like, what do me and you have in common that we care about that we can build on together? Like we're not going to agree on everything, and that's okay. That's part of the human nature.
Right.
And that's just part of being alive. Like not everybody is going to agree with everything you say. So I choose to focus on what do we have in common and how can we build on that, Yeah. So
what's your, I'm sorry, I'm going to back up just a little bit here.
Go ahead.
But when you were transitioning from that building, you bought an office building.
Yeah. Well, initially I rented it, but I was smart enough to put a purchase clause on it.
Gotcha.
I didn't know any better, but basically I put a purchase clause and I was able to buy it eventually. So,
gotcha. So your side hustle essentially has led from, just a side hustle that you worked 4 or 5 hours here and there on after you got off work to now your entire lifestyle, which is now something that's grown into security for multiple other families that are.
I mean, I just hired somebody, we keep growing, and I think I have 6-7 people on the payroll. Mm-hmm. And obviously, that's people that, rely on me to, to generate revenue and all that. But it's not just about the money. It's about making sure that they grow.
Right. Well, and especially as you become more successful with what you're doing too, it allows you to kind of have that cushion and comfort level to where you can focus on what it is you really care about.
Yeah.
Giving back to the people, providing, exceptional service.
Yeah.
Because now that over here, those constant pay cuts and upgrades and things that you dealt with over the years leading up to this, those are no longer as much of a worry. I mean, they're always a worry as a business owner. You look at the day in and day out books and stuff like that, and it's like, oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? You think about those things.
Well, the thing about it is, so what? So what if it does happen? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, if it really comes down to it, like, I'm not scared to make money.
Right.
Like, I'll go buy a pack of chicken at the grocery store for $5 and put the chicken on the grill and sell it for $15. And if it really comes down to it, I can do that. You know, like, I'm not scared of that. Everything's cyclical, man. Like, there's a yin to a yang. I mean, it's just the way life is. Like, you can't just keep going on a higher. Like, got
to be a pullback somewhere.
Yeah, when you look at these like these corporate profits, me and you talk about stocks all the time, and we have record profit. We have I'm like, dude, like seriously, how? Like, what kind of accounting are you doing?
Right.
Like you
sit there, they can make it say whatever they want to on the books. You of all people know this.
You sit there and tell me that these airline companies had $5 billion profits quarter over quarter, year over year, and then the minute that everything shuts down, they have no cash.
Right.
Like, come on, guys. Like, but anyway, so everything's cyclical, man. So I mean, you sometimes
it was those $65 million salaries that they had every year going to the higher ups.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, we're not even gonna get into that. I'm trying to live. I want to stay alive, but nah, man. But yeah, so I mean, everything.
Just
so
kidding.
if you know, one of the things is like, man, like I've been beat down. I've taken a 50% pay cut. With a master's degree, I was a day away from making muffins and baking biscuits in McDonald's. I mean, it is what it is, man.
I knew a guy literally that for what he did he had a master's degree, and he rode on the back of a trash truck throwing trash every single day.
Yeah. So you just got to ride the waves, man.
And nothing wrong with doing that.
No, nothing wrong with it at all.
But it's not
it was
what
just
he anticipated.
Right. It was not what he anticipated or what he had planned.
Yeah.
But it also goes to show that life always has life has a way of working itself out no matter what, or you're going to end up in a direction that you're supposed to end up in one way or the other.
And it goes back to, I want to go back to what I was saying about how powerful we truly are within ourselves. Like, you know, at the end of the day, like, and this is from one of I love the Rocky movies, right? But Rocky said it to his son, you know, like life is tough, man. It's going to beat you down. You know, and if you let it, it's going to keep you there. So it's like, it's up to you every day to choose to get back up, tie your shoes, and keep moving forward. And he said, it's not about how hard you get hit, man. And it's really not. We all get hit in the face. It's about how hard you get hit and you get back up, you know? So I've been hit a couple times, and I think that has allowed me to kind of be okay with, you know, what happens if this happens. Like, well, I mean, it is what it is. It's just a part of human nature, you know?
Right.
So.
And I think that's what separates people in business from mediocre and great. The ones that get hit and just keep moving forward and don't give up. Because a lot of people can get hit and just curl up in a ball and they quit. And they're like, I'm going to go back to this security and I don't have to worry about all of these problems because they just keep coming.
Yeah.
But once you overcome those problems moving forward, it's like that for one, that'll never be a problem again.
Yeah.
But for two, it's like now I can take this next step up.
Yeah. A lot of people ask for, and whether you pray about it or you ask the universe for it, you ask for strength and you ask for somebody to give you the strength you need. Well, how do you think God or the universe is going to give you strength? They're going to put you in a situation where you have to show strength. Yep. So it's up to you to follow through. So be careful what you ask for. If you ask for strength, you're going to get put in a situation where you have to show strength or develop that strength. So, you know, like, it's not just going to come to you. You're not who you are. You already are. You just have to develop yourself, you know? Right. And so tough times make, what do they say? Tough times make, tough men make, I don't know how the saying goes. Hard times make tough men. Right. Tough men make good times, and good times make weak men, however it goes. I don't know how it goes. You guys know what I'm
and it's kind of like the saying that,
like,
you know, it's talking about different generations, and it's like someone's grandfather, they changed a generational cycle and built a great company. Yeah. And then his son took that great company and turned it into an amazing, huge company. Mm-hmm. And then that guy's son literally blew the company because he didn't have to work for any of it. It was already there, and it was handed to him. Yeah. So there was no initiative to keep it growing, keep it going. Because one thing that I've definitely learned is if you're not moving forward, you're going backwards. There is no getting to a certain point and just maintaining. You're either moving forward or you're going backwards, one or the other.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. So, and if you're standing still, you're moving backwards.
Yeah. If you're second, you're last, or something like that.
If you're not first, you're last.
If you're not first, you're last.
You're so good at these inspirational quotes.
Shake and bake.
Good at
shake and bake, baby.
Shake and bake.
You got that one.
All right. Yeah. Do you have any other questions for Josue?
I just want to say that Josue is amazing.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, you've been an amazing friend and a huge asset to our business. Well, every business venture that we've been a part of. So, literally, I know I've called you sometimes, and it's like, hey, I created another LLC.
Yeah,
and you're just like, no,
why, dude?
Just But anyway, I want to thank you for being a part of the journey.
Nah, man, thanks for having me. And, you guys just keep doing good things,
Absolutely.
So,
well, we'll have you on again in the future, okay?
Yeah, it'd be fun, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, man.
All right, dude.
Enjoyed it.